breaking news. Let's table that conversation for just a moment here, because this is significant. Adam Schefter.
They watch the show, Yam.
Yes, they do. You said this in the last hour. Hey, it's trending this way.
Yeah.
I don't want to misquote you. Yeah. So just correct me if I'm wrong about this. Yeah. I think you uttered something to the effect of, if Kyler Murray is the Kyler that I think he can be, the Minnesota Vikings could be a Super Bowl team.
I do agree with that. I think that what we saw when he was in Arizona is a guy that was just freelancing playing quarterback in the NFL and was able to make incredibly dynamic plays week after week in a system that was just kind of, it's rough, man. That's hard to do in the NFL, is just kind of play freelance quarterback. And what I love about this and naming him starter is why he came over, because if you give him some parameters to work in, and I saw him, I watched him going through his progressions and going through his reads. It looks great. And I know there's going to be ups and downs, and maybe some of the people in Minnesota say that there's probably been up days and down days. Yes, I agree with that. But if you add the run, the play action, the ability to get the ball to Justin Jefferson down the field, dynamic playmaking, this is a great start. Name him week one starter. This had to be the way it goes, because I just think even though JJ has probably improved and maybe had made some strides, we haven't seen enough yet. I think it's time for Kyler to go in there and try and see what they can do on offense with him.
Okay, look, we've called Kevin O'Connell a quarterback whisperer before. He's had success with guys like Kirk Cousins. We saw it with Sam Darnold. Yeah. I know there was a lot of injuries last season. But Kyler's skill set is really unique in the NFL. His athleticism is off the charts. How does that fit in the mind of Kevin O'Connell when he's going home and he's on the ride back and he's thinking, hey, what can I draw up for Kyler that I wasn't able to do for Kirk, for example?
Great question. So I think the cool part about what I like about this system, it's almost like I've seen like when Deshaun Watson was trying to figure out how to get out of Houston, where he was going to go. I love this type of system for mobile quarterbacks. I know that obviously Sam Darnold had great success, won the Super Bowl last year. Yeah. Brock Purdy, great success. But just the added dimension. So when they used to call these bootlegs back in the day, when they were just, this offense was just kind of finding its way into the league, they would tell us this is an actual quarterback run. We have some pass elements off of it, but we're going to get you on the perimeter and see if you can make a dynamic play with your legs first. And then, if Justin Jefferson happens to be open, great, we'll hit it. But that's what I love about this element, is getting Kyler where he can see, like I've always seen him where he's dropping back. He's trying to create space. He's not the biggest guy, so he can see. There's trees, man. They're massive sequoias in there. So if you can find space, and in this offense, you can find space by moving the pocket, and that just frees him up to be him. And I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be great.
Where does this leave JJ?
JJ is still a young player. I think sometimes we give up on, and Kevin he's said this before. He said this about Daniel Jones when they brought him over. He's like, the league fails, or the teams fail players long before the players fail the teams. And I think it's still true. JJ is a young guy. He hasn't played a ton of football. Watch Kyler. Just learn, grow, become a student of the game, master that side of it. You don't have to, like, sometimes when I see JJ, I see him trying to out-athlete or out-physical the NFL. It's not going to happen. I fell in the same boat. A lot of young quarterbacks, we think that we can out-throw or just fit this into a tight window or be more athletic. Those guys are incredible athletes on the other side of the ball. You have to beat them with your mind. Now, Kyler is a unique example because he can do both. And I think that's why I like this marriage so much. But for JJ, it's continue to grow as a quarterback. You know, I use this all the time with Derek when he was coming up. Like, Bruce Wayne made a lot of money. You don't have to be Batman. Yeah. Right? Bruce Wayne was a billionaire. You could do that, just kind of taking your suitcase to work. So as a quarterback, that's what you have to do. You have to become a student of the game, master it from that side, then just kind of let your athleticism take over as it naturally happens throughout the course of it. But sitting back and taking a step back and watching Kyler, I think it'll be a good thing for him.
Love that analogy. By the way, we're not talking about Kyler Murray. Once again, just named the starter for week one for the Minnesota Vikings. We're about to have a master's class. I'm just going to sit back. It's you and it's Kurt Warner. We'll get both of you guys going back and forth on this decision. It's coming up next.
I mean, so many great memories. I mean, that was really cool to be a part of the weekend and be able to celebrate Larry. I'm not sure how much I enjoyed that when I was on live TV and he took me down, but that's just Larry. And we worked our way through it. But yeah, so many great moments with Fitz, and it was really cool to see him. I thought he did a great job with his speech and just the whole weekend in general.
Ian, I know you and I got to hang over the weekend, and we were reliving some of those great Hall of Fame speeches. It was awesome for every single football fan, but there's some significant news, guys, that just broke a short time ago. Kurt, I'm going to start with you. I already heard David's assessment from a Kyler Murray perspective for the Vikings. Set the stage for me for this quarterback as he's now learning a new offense, is trying to lead this team back to the promised land.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm surprised by the decision. I think with a lot of these, competitions, it just seems natural to go with the veteran guy because it's always easier to move to the young guy if things don't work out. But I think there's just the intrigue of Kyler Murray. I mean, we've seen so many great moments. He's a gifted thrower. He's a gifted athlete. Hasn't quite put it all together quite yet. But, at this stage with the guys around him, Coach O'Connell has done a great job with bringing quarterbacks along and helping take them to the next level. And so I think that's what intrigues everybody is that he hasn't had a quarterback quite like Kyler Murray before, and so I'm excited to see what he can do in this offense with those weapons.
And I would say, Kurt, you go back to free agency, you look at the landscape of this thing. The Vikings wanted Kyler Murray, and the Vikings were his number one choice. I mean, this was a match that I think made a lot of sense, and the money was nice. He was, Cardinals are paying the freight here, but really this was just one they've gone back and forth on starting quarterbacks over and over the last several years. This was the guy they wanted. He really hoped and thought that if Kyler Murray was the very, established veteran starting quarterback that he's been for years and years in Arizona, that he would come in and win the job. The fact that he has, the fact that it's been so early is, one, a good sign, and two, now allows him to get the first team reps and really begin the process of kind of acclimating and building that rapport with some of the receivers. The other part of this is what now happens to J.J. McCarthy. And we could talk about this right now, Yam. I mean, what does the future hold? He's a former first-rounder. He just was replaced. Someone else came in and was the starter. They have Carson Wentz already on the roster. Do the Minnesota Vikings hold on to J.J. McCarthy, or do they believe his value is better as someone they trade to another team and just kind of move on completely?
Yeah, David was just talking about it a few minutes ago, is that he's still a young guy. And here's the thing to me is that, too often young guys are forced to play before they're ready. Right. I know the Vikings, and there was other teams that really liked JJ coming out of college, but let's be honest, when he was at Michigan, he wasn't asked to be that guy. He wasn't asked to win games throwing the football. And so he's got to come along. He's got to grow into what an NFL quarterback is. And so I know it's easy to go, oh, it didn't work out the first time around. Let's go a different route. But I think this might just be one of those situations where, hey, we're in a perfect situation. We've got a veteran guy. We can start that guy, and we can let JJ continue to grow. So instead of forcing him to have to play before he's ready, now maybe we can wait until we think he's ready and putting his best foot forward, and then we can place him back in there, whether that's a year from now if Kyler doesn't re-sign, whether that's a couple years if Kyler does sign, a longer-term deal if he has success this year. But I just think it's too early. I've seen too many guys that get thrown in early, then they get discarded, and they never get a chance to truly learn the position so we can see what they can be as a quarterback.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, you're in a great situation. You have Carson Wentz, who could be the backup quarterback. You could even push him to 3 if you want with JJ. You can just sit him there, and exactly like Kurt said, in Michigan, he wasn't asked to win games. Minnesota, it almost felt like he was forced to, like, okay, come in and save this. Like, keep this thing going, keep the energy going from what, Kirk Cousins, these guys did. And I think it's unfair. I think the kid needs to learn and grow, and I think he'll be a better quarterback next year at this time, and then we can see what happens. Then we can kind of reevaluate. But I think to kind of let him go, it wouldn't be in Kevin O'Connell's nature, honestly. Like, I've seen him do this with Daniel Jones. Like I mentioned, he's brought in other guys to try to keep them going. So I would imagine with this quarterback room that you'd leave him there and let it kind of play itself out.
Yeah, there's still some time here. I mean, heck, from what you and Kurt were just talking about, there's another quarterback that just won a Super Bowl that I'm thinking about. Yeah. Just got thrust into the mix and didn't necessarily have early success.
Right.
So,
Exactly
right.
Everyone's like, oh, the clock is ticking. It's like, well, no, is it really? Guys, more from you. I know we'll get you on the Arizona Cardinals because you're down in Arizona right now. An opportunity to talk a little bit about Carson Beck, not to mention Jeremiah Love, who's certainly one of the more talented running backs. Looking forward to see him in the preseason at some point. So more from you guys.
To another edition of Inside Training Camp Live this Tuesday. We are just over 48 hours away from kicking off week 1 of the preseason. All 32 in action, all that, as we're just 29 days away from kicking off the NFL regular season. We got some news to get to today. It feels like football is rolling here, getting closer to these games really counting. We got a quarterback competition that has been decided for now. Already. So welcome, everybody. Rhett Lewis, Michael Robinson here with you. Kyler Murray is the name to know in Minnesota. QB1 for Kevin O'Connell. Just a couple of months into his tenure as a Minnesota Viking, beating out J.J. McCarthy. for that job. And now the Vikings and the Giants will get together in preseason week number 1. So that game just got a little bit more intriguing. All right, Emron, surprised at all to see this quarterback competition getting settled before any preseason action?
I am surprised that it's being settled this early. But the choice that Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings picked for their starting quarterback week 1 in Kyler Murray, the choice was not a surprise. I figured when they brought Kyler Murray in that, he was kind of the lead dog in the clubhouse to try to, to win the starting job. But when you look at Kyler Murray, man, the ceiling is way high. He can run the football. He's usually been a part of air raid offenses. So oftentimes when he was with the Arizona Cardinals, they were always trying to find an offensive coordinator to fit Cliff Kingsbury and things like that. To me, what's going to help Kyler Murray right now is he's in a real pro-style offense, learning real pro principles in the passing game and in the run game and things like that. So if he's disciplined enough, if he's calmed down enough, if he's been humbled enough from his experience out in Arizona, I believe this is an excellent pick for the Minnesota Vikings. And this could possibly be something that can be their long-term answer.
Well, and if this truly, is a matter of Kyler is that much ahead of where J.J. McCarthy was through these first 2 weeks of camp, you have created a terrific scenario because now you have the rest of August. This thing isn't lingering, and now you can really get those ones really accustomed to who's going to be calling the shots.
And the rest of the guys in that locker room can get behind their starting quarterback. That's really what it's all about. And I think that's why Kevin O'Connell was like, let's just do it right now. Let's figure it out. Who our starter is, let's name them, and so that we can get going with this season. But, Rhett, on the flip side of that, like, what happens to J.J. McCarthy now? Like, I'm not so sure.
He's got to go to work.
You got to go work.
In this preseason, for sure.
But let's say we go through the next month of preseason games, and what is he going to be, your backup?
I mean, it's got to be at this point.
I don't know.
Carson Wentz is still there.
I don't know if you can have a top 10 pick. He was like 9th or 10th pick or whatever in the draft. I don't think you have a top 10 quarterback who just got his job taken by the first overall pick that they brought in, and keep him on the team. To me, that can mess up your locker room.
Well, look, I think it's worth monitoring, certainly.
Absolutely.
If there's an issue with a starting quarterback situation around the league as the preseason goes on, maybe the Vikings get some calls.
But has J.J. showed the rest of the league enough that he can go somewhere else and be a capable quarterback? That's the issue, I think, that the Minnesota Vikings find themselves in, because honestly, if I'm looking at this quarterback room for the Minnesota Vikings, yes, Kyler Murray is my starter. I think Carson Wentz is the better backup. Carson Wentz came in and played well. Carson Wentz's only issue is he gets hurt. You see what I'm saying? So you just don't want Carson Wentz to have to go in there for 8, 9, 10 games, but he can go in there for 2, 3, or 4 and play pretty well.
Well, look, I think if there's one thing that J.J. McCarthy can take at this point is he was there when Sam Darnold was there.
Yeah.
Right. And he was there when Daniel Jones was around. And so now you can kind of see what can happen to a quarterback when you get a chance to go rejuvenate your career.
But last year, J.J. was the new guy in the quarterback room. Now, the Minnesota Vikings saw everything from J.J. McCarthy and said, you know what, we're going to bring somebody else in. To me, that's just a different dynamic, and I think that's why early on in this quarterback competition, when you were hearing from both of the quarterbacks, you kind of saw J.J. McCarthy kind of take this thing personally, and he should.
All right, well, this is still a guy that's only started 10 games in the league. So let's see where it goes from here. From now, we are going to Orchard Park, New York.